if we're not allowed to use quotations within our text, should we is do we just paraphrase other documents that we are referring to, or do we go word for word and then put in a citation?
So an inline citation won't be word for word. It would be paraphrased from your document. You might be including a couple of sources that you paraphrase into a single sentence or something like that, and then you need to have the citations for that at the end of that sentence. So like in the papers you guys are reading, you're not going to see quotes of things. You're going to see some sort of statement or sentence, a couple of sentences, and then it's got the parentheses with usually last name, comma, year, or something like that for the inline citations.
Okay.
You can use a number system if you want. Some people get excited about doing their references and make a number system, like number the references alphabetically or whatever, and then if you've got room to use the last name and year, that's fine. If you want to use numbers, totally up to you. Does anyone have specific questions about feedback that they got that they didn't fully understand? For the reference section attached to the paper, formatted like the annotated bib with the paragraphs and all. No, I put a note in the assignment on content project part 1 paper notes that it can be a works cited, not an annotated. So just like you see at the end of your papers, author names, year, title of the paper, title of the journal, volume, and pages. I don't need the paragraphs. It might help you to write some short paragraphs for yourself as you're writing your paper, just to help you kind of summarize things. But I don't need to see those again. What are you supposed to write for the important areas of research section? Well, hopefully that's what you wrote in your annotated bibliographies with the papers that you found. So you're focusing on some area of research that goes along with your topic. And most people did that in their annotated bibs in at least some way. So that would be an important area of research. I did get a couple of emails from folks that I haven't written back to all of them yet, but a couple of them were asking about the total number of references you should have. You need it, the 3 scientific, either the ones you used in your annotated bib, or if you're updating those, you at least need 3 from good primary sources like we were doing there. And then as many more as you want. Some folks are using some videos to get some background information. So if you're using any of that information to build your intro, you should include that. And some folks are using the textbook or other books that they found that go along with it, so you can add those on too. Things that kind of help round out your story, so it's not just a bulleted feel to the paper about the research itself. Formatting the inline citations. Should I have 1 citation per paragraph at the end of it? No, that's very bad. That looks like plagiarism. So yeah, having multiple citations within the paragraph is really the way to go. Even if it might be, maybe you write the first 2 sentences and it's one, you really only have 1 citation used for that, fine. And then you write a couple more sentences or another sentence, and that might be more just your thoughts or from another source, then cite it if it's from another source. And you might go back to the first one you used, so you might bounce back and forth a little bit. Does that make sense, Wyatt? Depends how big your paragraph is, I guess. How much you want to bounce back and forth in it. Awesome. Yeah, the multiple citations in a paragraph are the way to go. Abstract, no. Nope, there is no room for an abstract in 2 pages. Title page, cover page, no. Unless you're a person that's like, I absolutely have to put a title page. Oh, okay, fine. But I'm not going to read it. I'll scroll right by it. Write an APA paper, and notice many sources said to write an abstract and put a cover page. Right, but you're not doing an APA paper. You're doing a 2-page white paper. So it does not include enough. So the APA papers are what you guys were reading. They've got intros and methods and results and discussions and conclusions, much longer papers. Then they need an abstract. They might need, I guess, if you're submitting it to someplace, they would need a title page and cover page, but most of the time it would just be a title at the top. But even for me, don't need a title at the top. It just takes up space. A couple of people asked me if they could put it as a header, put a title as a header because they came up with a cute title. I'm like, okay, fine. Because they didn't want it to take up room in their actual 2 pages. And if you put it as a header, it won't. So that's fine if you're a person that feels like you need to title it. I'm not concerned about that. Sure. I'm trying to remember. There's one other question. Do, do. Some of you got in your feedback that you probably needed more foundational information. So you might have had like really specific references to specific methods or something like that. And I was just suggesting that you might need something to give you a little bit of background for an introduction so that you weren't just trying to replicate these really complex methods in a little short period or a little short amount of space. So um, a couple of people asked me if they could copy and paste from their annotations, their annotated bibs into their papers. I mean, if it's stuff that you wrote, it's yours, and technically you're not supposed to, by RET policy, submit the same assignment twice, but you're not in this case, you're kind of building on your assignment. So as long as you're not plagiarizing from a source, that's okay. So you may have a couple of sentences that you pull from your annotated bib straight because you spent time writing them there and summarizing them, and that's okay. Just make sure you're citing where you need to. One person asked me if how long your kind of future direction sort of thing can be or should be. I mean, that's sort of an afterthought, right? That's if you're reading through these papers and you keep kind of coming back to the same thing where you're like, I don't know why they're not doing this. You might suggest that in just a sentence or two of your conclusions paragraph, but this should certainly not be you're trying to redevelop or redesign gene therapy or come up with a new method for cloning or something like that. This is just kind of your thoughts on if you, it's almost giving you a little leeway for if you need a space filler, right? Let you kind of pontificate about what other directions the research could go. It's not necessarily something I'm looking for to be in any sort of detail. If you include it all, you may not include it all if you're out of space. Let's see. 2 pages, the limit or the minimum? 2 pages is the limit, top end. Worrying about modern advances as much. Are you looking for something different there in the future directions? So I'll look at something. I posted. Modern advances, Eric, might be, so some folks are using some really old papers, or okay, really old in the fields that you guys have are like 1990. And then some newer papers, so they're looking at kind of where technology has gone over time in their topic, and what those modern advances are in the research and what it's kind of doing to the current field. I mean, depending on your topic, that might not be something you're as excited about going over, but it may be kind of more tied into your important areas of research. So you may not have. It's not like you could write a section, maybe, Eric, but instead, maybe this is all tied together. Does that make sense? Yours are from the 90s. That's why you're worried. Um, Sure. I mean, if you can't find modern papers on your topic and you think there are new technologies out there or should be new technologies out there that would make your topic go further, be better investigated, you can certainly propose those instead in kind of your future directions if you want to, Eric. A couple of new folks just joined, so folks are adding questions in the chat or just unmuting their microphones and asking questions. We have a few more minutes if you've got some things you want to think about together. No APA title page. I'm not looking for you to follow the format guidelines for an entire APA paper because that's not what you're writing. You're writing a white paper that is essentially a very short description of what's currently out there. So it's more of an extended background than it is an APA paper. There are a couple people that just hopped on. I have to go soon, but if you look in the chat window, there's a few things that people have asked. Um, those will be in the recording that I post later. But if you want to ask them again, you can either unmute your mic and ask them or just tell me in the chat window that you need me to answer something again. That's fine.